International Stadium in Egypt's capital city. It's been a spectacular host of these World Veterans Fencing Championships, and this men's team épée gold medal match is its fitting finale. So here we go, USA on the left up against France on the right. I've been told, I can't necessarily hear the stadium announcer, so I'll just go through those names again. It's John Normile, Rick Vottrell, Walter Dragonetti, Daryl Taylor, Bruno Goossens and Jeffrey Spahn on for the USA. France line up with Gauthier Châteloup, who was absolutely superb in the semi-finals, Francois Vaquez, Francois Ringinson, Bertrand Sico, Jean-Jacques Bina and Richard Romero. The referees for this match are Luca Chiei from Italy, who's going to start things off, and Andrei Kovryniuk from the Republic of South Africa. And an interesting thing about Andrei Kovryniuk is his name has been pronounced many times during these championships. He's been on the field of play a lot, and I think almost every single time it's been pronounced a slightly different way, so he must be an amused gentleman. But joining me in the commentary position for this last match, the Mr. Sneezy of the referee pool. He's got a touch of a cold, but kindly giving us his time, Ryland Delap. Ryland,
glad to be here.
Yeah, and you have got to be here because it's your team, the USA, and I always say to my guests who come into the FRA commentary box as the expert, which you are, a very knowledgeable fencing individual, but please don't worry about trying to be impartial. You can support your team, it's quite all right.
I grew up as a referee, so I have a habit of being impartial, but I do support the USA team. This will actually be a fantastic bout because France has been, I've watched them fence throughout the day, and they're extremely strong, and they are missing some of the individual fencers who were fantastic according to the FIA rankings, one of the number 2 in the world in the ranking. So it's interesting he's not even fencing, and they're still coming out extremely strong in this competition. So hopefully US can come out and fight against them. I know Bruno has been extremely successful today for the USA team. Bruno Goossens, he's a very strong fencer, and very clever, actually a French speaker himself. So
yeah, and it's interesting to see that on the current lineup we've got, we don't have Gauthier Châteloup on the piece or on the scoreboard.
That. You said he was doing so well.
Yeah, but as you said, Ryan, in the previous match, it's not always the names that we've got on the score sheet that come out. They've got a chance to have a quick play around with the order before they come out, but that is Francois Vaquez on the right. There he is coming out to the on-guard line. And is that John Normile? I think it is, isn't it?
Yes.
It is, yes.
And this can always be a useful tactic, right? Start with the lefty and then switch it up.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we will see a substitute in this one because Châteloup's fence works so well, but we don't know because these guys know each other so well. They might just say that Châteloup is not the man to put on against the USA. But our A category fences go out first, followed by C and B, and then we'll rinse and repeat for that same format through the legs 4, 5 and 6. And the A fencer's going for it straight off the mark, and it's Normile who gets the first point. Obviously, you can't referee on this particular leg because it's your compatriots on the piste. But you have been refereeing this tournament today. Any standout performances from you?
I would say that's Bruno Goossens for USA has been extremely strong. As you say, Châteauleau for France, but for the USA team, I mean, they have a strong group overall. Interesting, so they're going with Taylor to finish this up. And do you know who won the coin toss for this?
I have no idea.
So I'm interested who set the order here. But in general, I think Goossens is the strongest on the USA team in terms of caring for the team. And he was successful. I believe he got silver in the individual 70.
And I think that when you look at this, you probably have to guess that it was the USA that won the coin toss because
I'd like to see this, but the fencer who passes is usually not allowed to validate their touch. So.
Oh, well, go and have a look at the video review here. Yeah, I would fancy just trying to guess the answer to the coin toss. That the USA won it, and they put out the A category fences because they wanted to get rid of Châteauleau early on. And, of course, the French decided, well, we're not going to bring him on at all.
Yeah? Interesting. That actually might be exactly it right there, yeah. Good analysis. And that touch wasn't valid because the fencer, even if you start an action before the pass, if you were the one causing the pass and you hit after, that touch is not valid. And even though he lost his blade there, he made that action in one motion. There's no way they're going to invalidate that touch. Because then I would just let go of my blade all the time.
Yeah, well, you get a good look at the weapon on the piece there and the French grip. And is he going to call for a video? And he does. Namile calling for a video. I'm not sure his team were 100% convinced by that use of the video.
And he had an interesting question that he's asking. He's asking that he took it and then swept it up again, but it's still going to be one motion. They're not going to take away that touch from Vacquez because he did everything right.
Well, going through the convention here of making sure the fencers are ready to get on with it once the decision's been made. Point stands, spot on. If someone is clearly disarmed at distance, then a referee will stop the fight.
Yes, hopefully not too early because if you still need in fencing time. Fencing time is just that time that they are actually trying to hit each other. You have to allow the fencer to make their action within one moment. Otherwise, you're kind of hindering the fencers from playing their game. Right?
You've now hit this the hardest thing to describe to a non-fencing audience. What is a moment of fencing? And it's impossible to say it's 1.235 seconds.
Exactly.
It's the feeling in the match.
It's like a beat in music, like if you clap your hands and make a beat. It's just every single beat, every tempo for those musicians out there is like a moment in fencing. So
and one fight might be slower than the other, so the rhythm and the cadence of the fight is slightly different. And one moment in a fight might be different to the next moment as well. So
it is a very hard thing to grasp, seemingly abstract, but when you see them move and fence, every motion that they make, every little twitch is like one of those moments. Every attempt to hit is one of those moments. So how they can drag those moments out and lengthen them and make them really twitchy and small and short, but moments nonetheless.
Referee reaching into his pocket here. Is this for deliberately coming off the piece? No, he's just turned the sound up on his microphone.
Yep.
Now turned it back down again because it was a little too loud.
It's good to mic up the referees for these events. I've had to come up close because it's just a lot of noise going on, so to be loud, it's much better just to have it be mic'd up.
Yeah, and in fact, the referees for the finals have been asked to stand a little bit further back than they were earlier in the week for the angle of the video review system. That camera being used for that.
Some people get with épée when they see the lack of points being scored, they get frustrated. You watch a football or soccer match that is there's not so many goals, but there's a lot of masterful controlling of the blade and distance that's going on that you can really appreciate once you see how they're pressuring each other and trying to pick each other apart. And I've been giving the P yellow cards throughout today, but I don't think I've given a single passivity yellow or red or even passivity black card that hasn't been actually beautiful fencing. They're taking distance, they're trying to pick each other apart. It's actually quite masterful.
And this is the argument with all of the more reactive epaists to this non-combativity rule. But the purpose of the rule was one purpose only: make the fences fence.
Absolutely.
We don't want you
no,
to
the rule has
be
to exist. It has to exist. But for me, it's more against the people who are angry about the lack of scoring sometimes in epee. They're still fencing, you know. They absolutely still need to have some kind of passivity rules, and this one's fine for that purpose, because you're right, you have to force some conclusion, you know.
And the fencers start to use it as a tactic to get down to the final legs in team competitions.
I believe with Kalam, who's one of the amazing fencers, came out. Was also coaching for the team for France on the right. I believe he came out to discuss a substitution. So we might in fact see Châteauroux come out after all, but we'll see.
Yeah, this is Bina, the category C fencers out on the piste, and it is your star player for the USA, Bruno Goossens, on for his first match as well. So 2-1 after an intriguing first leg. 1 of 6 here in the final. The final here at the World Veterans Fencing Championships. I know you're extremely keen to talk about your team and the fencing going on here, but whilst we're still in the early stages of this match, any particular highlights from you about these amazing championships? I'm not talking necessarily about the fencing, but everyone's told me they've never seen a World Championships at veterans level like this.
I think they've done a wonderful job here in Egypt, to make a good show of everything, to have a beautiful final stage. They've done a really good job. It's run pretty smoothly overall. Everyone's been walking around gifting each other. Every team has brought many gifts for every other team that they come against, and they gift little pins or keychains and things, or cards to the referees. And it's been a wonderful tournament, quite beautiful, international relations in a sense.
Yeah,
I think it's been wonderful.
The camaraderie that's often talked about at the veterans level is clear for all to see at these championships. Hostilities on the piste, that's for sure, but everybody really enjoy themselves. And the mic for the referee has run out of batteries, I think, is probably the most likely thing here. So
things that happen in the final.
Yeah, they've lasted all week, so now the referee's going to stand just a little bit closer to the fencer so that they can hear him directly rather than relying on the PA system around him. So as you can now see, the referee's clearly in view in between us and between the camera and the fencers. So sometimes the blade disappears a little bit behind the shadow of the referee.
It's true. It'll be okay for the video replay. It's a little frustrating perhaps for the viewers though, but at least he'll be able to make any sensible call for anything that might happen. But
yeah. Well, championships have been wonderful, and we're not going to get a huge amount of time to talk about them after this gold medal match, because we'll pretty much roll straight into the medal ceremonies, and then because of the commercial music that's played in all sports venues around the world and there are restrictions on YouTube, we have to come out pretty quickly. So a couple of people that are worth mentioning: Maija-Liisa Somerue of Finland, double world champion, women's foil and women's epee gold medalist. The other one that really stood out for me was Dorothea Tansmeister picking up the women's sabre and women's foil gold medals.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And of course Team USA, top of the medal table.
Of course, good for the shout out.
And all the referees who've worked super hard here. It's a shorter day than a senior world championships. and Open World Championships. But there's a lot of fencing to referee in those few hours, and all the volunteers who've done a great job, and of course Egyptian fencing.
Of course, yes. I was about to say we can't forget them. They've been wonderful hosts.
Good. And of course the FRA for putting this out on the live stream on the fencing channel. You know, make sure if you're enjoying this that you give the International Federation your feedback and support by subscribing to the channel, and follow them on all social media channels. In fact, lots of behind the scenes videos and imagery and information, of course, on the fencing social media channels, the International Fencing Federation.
Absolutely, everything the fencer needs to develop themselves, right?
But a very crucial time in the quadrennial Olympic qualification resuming in just a couple of weeks' time at the first World Cup of the new season in Tallinn. And will we be seeing you on the international circuit this season?
Yes, hopefully for some senior events. I would love to be attending more of those. I'm definitely one of the newer international officials, but I'm certainly set to be at a lot of the junior World Cups this season already.
Quite a bit of travel for you then. A lot of those are in Europe. I know you've got quite a good setup in the Americas as well for junior World Cups.
Oh, plenty. Oh yes, we have the World Championships as well in Salt Lake.
Oh, just that small competition, yeah. The longest one of the entire season, 12 days of cadet and junior action coming out of Salt Lake City. As time runs out in the second period here,
and managed to pull a small lead for the US.
Winning that fight 4-2, taking the United States of America one hit up, and nothing in it at the moment. Now, if all is to be believed on the score sheet, that's Daryl Taylor, and it is indeed Daryl Taylor coming out for the USA, the Category B fencer, aged between the age of 60 and 69, and Francois Ringerson. Now, Ringerson was on the score sheet the last time the French came out, but he did not appear on the piste. It was in fact Bertrand Sico, but that is Ringerson coming out onto the piste. So we have stuck with what we've got on the score sheet. Still very early days in this match.
Have we fixed the mic issue? Looks like.
Taking some batteries out of something else to get them going. They usually have two radio mics for the referees, so they've just gone to the backup mic. So our Cat B fencers up the piste, and Taylor is the one that seems to be looking for something and pressing. Seems happy to be reactive and work off that, not doing anything proactive himself at the moment.
I know lefties are never comfortable fencing one another, even though it's kind of the ironic thing, right? Everyone says lefties have the advantage. It's just because there's less of them. So even lefties hate fencing lefties.
Exactly. Can turn into a bit of a scrap as well.
Absolutely.
Combativity is 5 seconds away, and the French are calling for it, and in the end the Americans made one shout and out came Daryl Taylor.
A wonderful moment for that flash.
2:03 on the clock.
Actually, the first time today I've gotten the chance to watch Daryl fence. I had the pleasure of meeting him at this competition. A very pleasant guy. Wonderful fencing as well. Being extremely strong on that blade. It's a great way to bring about some hesitation from his opponent, and then just
push that down into octave. Low second, but pushing it down into the low line and giving himself enough time to come back up and hit in the high line.
Yeah, so if you can get your opponent to do anything, any aside from attempting to send that point into your target, right, he's binding the blade or pushing the blade aside, right, which will force the French fencer to change lines and move his blade away to a different way. And in that moment, he can extend and hit. That's a really good moment to make an action.
Well, that's a lovely comeback from Ringerson.
It's just really good fencing from Taylor, but just a little hesitation in that last parry, and French fencer Ringerson was able to make that remise just in time.
We haven't seen all of the action from Cairo on this live stream because only a certain number of matches can be played out on the sort of standard 4 colour piece set up in these podium piece. But I've got to say, this is the first time I've seen the athletes puffing a little bit, for gasping for a little bit of air. They've slowed this right down, and both of them have done so. It's been a long week. Some of these athletes have fenced in more than one weapon as well.
Yeah.
And fair dues to both of them. You can see the effort that's been put in by Ringerson there. And I wonder if we are going to see a substitution, that it is those Cat B fencers that get it. Well, we're going to find out whether the French have made the call here. Is that Châtelou's? I don't think it is.
Nope.
So Francois Vaquez comes back out on for the French team, and it's John Normile coming out for the USA as well. I'm wondering if certainly the French may consider making a substitute for the anchor leg. So here we go, halfway through this match, nothing between them. USA with that slender lead, and we're talking about puffing and blowing air. It looks like John Normile could go on for another 7 days here in Cairo. He's bouncing around, lots of body movement.
Hoping he can make a change from that first encounter with Vaquez. It was a 2-1 touch lead in favor of Vaquez. So similar thing happens, and they will close that gap. Hopefully, John Normile can keep the pressure. Some people, when they watch épée or watch fencing in general, it's almost like frustrating. You're like, this is the moment, But it's these guys have such great timing and point control. They could hit a target you're not expecting, or take your blade in the moment that you weren't ready to take it. So it makes that hesitation understandable. So just as a perfect example right there, Vaquez made a simple action and immediately gets picked in the hand by John Normile.
Yeah, and you talk about that, and to the casual observer, that's a nice attack from the American as well, and a cheer, a roar of delight. now he's puffing for air. He has been moving around a bit.
Absolutely. That's exhausting.
But you talk about the casual observer watching fencing, and it just looks like they're hitting target. These guys are trying to hit a square, half a square centimetre. They're hitting something, they're aiming for something that's not much bigger than the diameter of the tip of the sword.
Absolutely. They're not just throwing their hand like throwing a baseball in a general direction, right? They are sending that point to a very specific place. Like they could hit a fly off your shoulder if that's what they were aiming for.
And the reason for that is that, yes, whilst the whole body's target in epee, it's a perfect example, what we're trying to do is create the smallest of openings, and your opponent's desperately trying not to give you any openings. And so you've got to try and hit a point that they can't get to without the parry. Well, referee Andrei Kovrynik giving a yellow card here for... well, I'm going to say for what looks like stopping the fight unnecessarily.
It is exactly why I would say it's a little harsh, but it's how he wants to control the bout, and that's absolutely fine. Because it really can be frustrating if a fencer is, in closer distance where the fencers could possibly make an action in a moment to ask to stop the bout. I thought he stepped away before asking to stop, which generally we allow.
But I think probably to be fair to Andrei Kovrynik, he just put his hand up to say, can you stop, but didn't wait for the referee to say halt. He just started playing with his weapon. And actually, that's unsafe.
That's true. So that might be where the yellow card, and in that case, I definitely agree with that.
Oh, so close for Vaquez. I felt like he picked the right moment, but the reaction from the American was superb.
That's exactly that fact. It's really hard to make a confident action in epee because it's just that double touch or somebody hitting you in a target that you weren't prepared. Like again and again, you come in with anything that your opponent just makes that action within that window, and you're hit.
Great stuff.
Wonderful fencing by John Normal.
He's been pretty proactive, but actually what's scored him most of his points at the moment.
It's a complete change from the initial encounter. This is what that 1 point difference can really make, right? Their first encounter was the very first match of this team bout, and it went 1 and 2, in favor of Vaquez. But now when they came together in this encounter, he had a 1 point lead, and that changes the game extensively.
But Vaquez coming out on the attack to try and close this down. Again, we're in a situation where the trading team don't want to hand over too much of a deficit to their teammates. This is the fourth leg, so miles away from the target score of 20.
And some people also watching can notice that the fencer John Normal on the left has a different type of grip than the fencer on the right. It's like it's what we call a French grip, which is more elongated and actually can give you a few extra inches than the other fencer who has a pistol grip. But a pistol grip, you can make stronger actions on the blade and make flicks a little bit easier. So it's an interesting dynamic to see the two weapons kind of collide. But generally, when you have someone with a French grip, they want to take advantage of a lead, which John Normal has done well to do this match.
Inside the last 15 seconds of the fourth leg here. The Americans will be pleased with their charge on the piece at the moment. He's taken them from a 1 point lead to a minimum of a 5 point lead here with 5.05 seconds left on the clock. That could be it for this leg. I wonder if the French tell Vaquez to pull away, and they do. So Normal getting the Americans into a 5 point lead. Crucial as we only have 2 legs left, and we look out for whether it's going to be Bruno Goossen and Jean-Jacques Binard coming back on to the field of play here for this leg. I can tell you what looks like a substitution for the French. It looks like they're bringing on Richard Romero, and are the French doing? Are the Americans doing the same? The French have brought on. I'm just going to hold back on that one because I saw Romero coming out.
Interesting. It's too late for US to be changing for Goossens, as the previous match is just finished.
Well, it is definitely Romero out. Bina has hung up his épée for the last time here in Cairo. So that is Richard Romero. There's no American coming out at the moment.
Yes, I'm interested if perhaps they had decided on a different order earlier on that they just did not record.
Well, the French are in disarray here. They didn't make their substitution call early enough. You have to make it at least one fight in advance.
So it was the other way around. The U.S. fencers were discussing with the referees that it was too late.
And that is a potential disaster. You can see the frustration on the French side of the camp. You can see that down at that end of the piste, it is Jean-Jacques Binard now getting on for this leg, but he had actually started his stretch out and warm down, and it was Richard Romero who was the one that was ready to come out and had stretched out, done his little warm-up routine and wanted to fence. The Americans were canny and said, hold on, no one told us about this substitution, cannot happen, and that's because the French hadn't called it in time. Well.
Not giving them any kind of chances. So Goossens, Bruno has seen and matched up already with Mr. Bennett and is ready to go again and try to maximize on this lead.
Yeah, it was 4-2 to the American in the last encounter between these two, and now the man that was hoping for a rest is back out to fence. And you say that the Americans not sort of conceding any ground, not allowing them to make that substitution. Why no, should they? They shouldn't. It's a world championship.
They shouldn't. No,
it's
absolutely.
a world championship gold medal match.
Yeah.
Up for grabs here.
But I like to see the strongest fight possible. You know, I love fencing in general, and I like to see when those matches become even tighter and more exciting.
I'm afraid Mr. Normal, Goossens and Taylor are going to disagree with you and say we want the easiest match, thank you very much. We want a gold medal round our necks and a world title. No one's going to remember whether it was a strong match. History books will just say we're the gold medalists.
I can't disagree with that. That's my referee standpoint. But as a fencer, I 100% agree.
Yeah. I appreciate that, yeah. But 2 points already for Bruno Goossens. And, well, are they going to recover from this decision to... well, the late decision to call for a video review. The Americans pulling away.
Bruno seeming to play with some antics on the strip there, quite inviting his opponent by putting his blade all the way back. Rather confident in this matchup.
Yeah, you got to think that this has affected the the concentration levels, and you know, that it's going to affect their morale, the fact that they weren't able to make the substitution that they were planning on making. And it looks to me like with a minute still to go in this leg, that Jean-Jacques Bina is not given up, but he's not perhaps as engaged as he might be.
That is tough. Yeah, it's that thing that happens too when you feel like you've maybe made your last touch for the day, and
yeah,
you've
pick yourself back up.
down. Yeah, exactly. And it's not so easy to do, right? You turn a machine off, right? It takes the most energy to bring it back on again, as opposed to keep it running.
Well, if I was Bruno Goossens, I'd say, well, is 11 enough? I might just go after one more here with 25 seconds odd to go. Doesn't need to take any risks. And, perhaps he said, well, enough's enough. A double there is, well, ticking us closer to the target score of 25. And a lovely hit to finish things off. It's been a catastrophe for the French team. They thought that they were able to bring on their substitute Romero. In fact, he was plugged in and ready to go, only for the American opponents quite rightly to point out the French hadn't officially announced the substitution, and therefore Mr. Richard Romero had to come off the piste, and well, basically Bina had to put his jacket back on.
So it's extremely important to be wary of the rules.
I'm sure they know the rules. I just think they
just caught it too late.
Yeah, and just gold medal World Championships at stake. They forgot one step of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be wary, because even though they know the rules, sometimes you might forget and do something too late. And as an opponent, you have to be vigilant and make sure that you keep as much of your advantage as possible, which U.S. has done perfectly well today. And perfectly fairly and within the rules. In fact, I'd say more than perfectly fairly. They have applied the rules as they should be. And it's gotten them a huge lead and likely the gold for this World Championships. Catastrophic mistake from the French team. Not to say that the Americans wouldn't have gone on to win, but the net result of being refused the late substitution, it could have played a part in the lead being so big for the Americans. Now we have substitute, or at least a change. Maybe the order was already set previously, but that is Dragonetti on the left, not Mr. Taylor. Good spot. And he gets a moment in the sun. Also, then a moment in the sun as well. He's going to get the winning moment, the World Championship winning moment for the USA, unless Francois Ringerson can pull off a miracle here. Well, at this stage, even with 2 minutes left to go, Francois Ringerson cannot afford to let any seconds slip by without working hard to try and score a point. If you do the math real quick, how many touches per second does he need to pull out? There's 12 behind. We've got 100 seconds. It's 1 every 10 or so. Yeah. Less than. It's a tough pace to follow again, at this level. Bless you. Gesundheit. We did say he was the Mr. Sneezy. You okay there? Yeah. It feels good to sneeze. Honestly, I spent the entire day wanting to sneeze and just not being able to is one of it's just being punished.
Well, being punished is the French team by your compatriots, the USA. The substitution failure of the French has given them a mountain to climb here, and Team USA are 2 away from taking the final world title at the World Veterans Championships, Fencing Championships of 2019. There's another one, and that's a cracker as well. Let's finish this in style, says Mr. Dragonetti. How are we going to do this then, Walter? Finishes with a counter-action, and Team USA are the men's team épée world champions. Rylan, congratulations to your compatriots, your teammates, your countrymen. They did a cracking job there. They were professional to the end. But how much did that failed substitution play a part in the way that match went?
I think it was almost all of it, because that was where they wanted to make a change to try to come back. The other fencer had already wound down. I think that was one of the biggest factors of this battle.
Well, there we have it. That is the last action on the piste here in Cairo. We do have the medal ceremonies coming up, just 2 this evening, coming up very, very soon. Rylan Delap, it's been a great pleasure having you in the commentary box. Thanks for your expert opinion.
Pleasure's all mine.
And I'm not going to shake your hand because you're sneezing all over it. No, Rylan Delap, he's done a great job on the field of play, officiating the fencers here, and brilliant to have him in the commentary box with his insight to this wonderful sport. We're going to take a very short break in the commentary box. We'll be back for the medal ceremonies in just a few minutes' time.